Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Monday, January 29th, 2024. So glad to be back with you here on the channel. I'll just jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence or hatred or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice. There are further disclaimers in the description below. So I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel here on Monday. I want to say thank you so much for supporting the channel. I want to say a special thank you to H for donating to the channel, and just thank you everyone. Your news tips, your prayers, all of it are so appreciated. So we're going to jump in here. Oh, I actually do want to start this in the beginning of the video because it is January 29th. And c60evo.com/YAFTV, use the code YAFTV for 10% off. This is incredibly 100% pure carbon 60, ESS 60. This is organic and completely pure C60. That is a sponsor of the channel. And every month I give away 2 bottles of these C60 capsules. These are the C60 in olive oil, the highest potency in capsules, gets into your mitochondria. I love the capsules because it's digested with a little bit of protein there in the gelatin caps. And basically it gets into your mitochondria and it gets all the crud out. And cellular health is the literal, kind of kingpin of our health. It gets into the mitochondria. Even Deborah Birx, in recent interviews, that crazy scarf lady, has admitted that what they've learned from hitting us with bioweapons is that mitochondrial health is what they're trying to attempt to hit next, and for entertainment purposes only. And so what I'm saying is, if you contribute to the channel, you get 15% off, plus you get entered into the giveaway, which is 2 bottles given away by c60evo.com/YAFTV. And so again, all the links are below, everything below, but if you do contribute to the channel, you get entered into the giveaway. Thanks for letting me plug. I know it's a little squirrely. All right. So look, we have so much news going on, and I'm unsure where to begin, but I'm going to jump in here because there's so much going on. So the glasses go on so I can actually read what's happening. I think that I will start, I actually think I need to start here, which is, we had the drone strike in Jordan, but the corner there of Iraq, Jordan, and Syria, where Tower 22 exists, right? This outpost of the U.S. military, just basically set up there with troops to be basically like a trigger response zone, where if there's a threat coming across, they're the first ones to receive it. However, they have said over and over they don't have the weaponry or the ability to strike back about what's been going on with 145 strikes against our U.S. military bases in all these Middle Eastern zones. That we've had 145 strikes since the Israeli attack. And they're ramping up this, trying to get the war ramped up with Iran. Iran has come out and said that they did not strike on this base at Tower 22. But, what we do find is that the drone that did come in was piggybacked. Okay, it piggybacked on a U.S. drone. So there was a U.S. drone that supposedly was piggybacked by a Hezbollah drone or whatever. And the thing here is this piggybacking, is very convenient. It's a way of saying, oh, it went under the radar. Somehow it piggybacked our drone and then went kamikaze. And it's the first time in U.S. history where our own military bases have been hit by drone strikes and killed Americans. And it's very, I'm going to talk about Barack Obama here in a second, but I want to honor Kennedy Layden Sanders. Kennedy Layden Sanders, she was a 24-year-old woman. That's the only one they've identified so far at the time of me making this video, who was killed in this drone strike there at the corner of Jordan, Syria, and Iraq. And this drone hit Tower 22 in their sleep, and it's called a tower, which is, that's a little odd, don't you think? I mean, when you think of the connotations of the towers. Hit in their sleep by a drone, by a plane, right? And they're killed. And then there's like 24 other soldiers injured, and 2 others who I don't know their names, but Kennedy Layden Sanders, she was a 24-year-old African-American woman out of Georgia who was an Army specialist, who her nickname was Munchkin, okay? And she's killed in her sleep by a drone attack, who Iran says they didn't do it. And then we have this, kamikaze drones. And the reason and so prayers to the family of Kennedy Sanders, prayers to them, prayers for her as she crosses over into the great beyond, being held up by Jesus Christ. We have the situation where Obama, not long before he left the presidency, before Trump got in, there was this kind of delivery, of a drone to Iran. Remember that? I think it was in the Strait of Hormuz. I think it was right through there that Iran captured a drone with they were like in their inflatable boats and they captured a drone. No, they were delivered a drone to replicate and to produce, and the billions of dollars in cash that went from Obama to the Iranians, all of it. And that doesn't even mean that that's what's going on. I really believe, for entertainment purposes only, this is an FEF to create, to instigate more, they want to get that world war started. They want it to be with Iran and Russia. And that this was done, and that they would sacrifice our soldiers, our U.S. citizens, to do it. And it's disgusting. It's awful. And prayers for the family. They're now a Gold Star family. They're 24-year-old mowed down there. And so prayers for you, Kennedy Layden Sanders. May you rest in peace, and it's the promise of eternal life is what she has now. But that's not what our criminal, satanic, awful government has. They're going to a different place. And all these outbases with 145 strikes against them, with U.S. soldiers there, who Trump had said a million times he wants to bring back, and he will bring back to the United States and close them down. God help us that he doesn't put anybody in his cabinet that will prevent that. But these outpost bases are saying they don't have the weapons and the technology they need to fight off these drones. They're sitting ducks, basically. And it's the first time in U.S. history we get U.S. soldiers killed by drones, which Barack Obama was the king of drone killing, and delivered that drone to Iran back in 2016. And and so much comes out of that last year of the Obama presidency. And so I'll go on from there, but I wanted to mention that. So what else we have going on? We have to talk about the situation with the border, right? We've got, of course, the great, AG out of Texas, Paxton. He's saying it's a real deal. Like, this is really protecting the border. This whole call to arms of the National Guard, all of it. Well, we do have the takeourborderback.com. I believe they're leaving both the East Coast and the West Coast today to go down to Eagles Pass to participate in revivals on the way and go down there and be witnesses to what's happening. And I would say, like others have said, that, you remember the Fedsurrection, this is a situation where we really need to fight the major war, which is the election, okay? And we need to fight what is like saving our republic. And I get it about the border, and I think it's important. And I support everybody who wants to do what they want to do. But I would say this: do not bring your phones. There's going to be massive geofencing. The feds will be geofencing anybody with phones to identify you. And what I'm going to talk about in this video later is the secret court that Joe Biden has set up for specifically doing this kind of thing, geofencing and recording your data and giving it to Europol, like giving it to out of the country to be able to come after us here in this country. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so the feds, geofencing is a real thing. We saw it with J6. Don't bring a phone that identifies you to your specific ID, because you will be absolutely identified and be part of the list. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do what you want to do. It means that you need to understand that once you do it, you'll be identified. And that's not to scare anybody from not doing protests and actions and being part of. It's just that it looks pretty squirrely that what's coming up here on the Eagles Pass has all the ripe, signatures for what would be an FE, right? And so be careful, record everything, do it old school, use your old recording devices. You don't need to use your personally identified phone. And so alongside with that, just to reinforce the situation, the Dems are pushing immediately right away this thing called HR 6981, which is the Preventing Private Paramilitary Activity bill. Okay, Preventing Private Paramilitary Activity bill. They're basically saying they want to prevent militias from forming. They want to prevent any firearm drills that will be with multiple people. Anything more than two people doing gun drills. I mean, it's crazy. We're constitutionally allowed under the Second Amendment to have a militia and to do drills and to fight the tyranny of the government. We're actually beholden to it. We're supposed to have it. Every state should have it. Every state should have a militia acting under that Second Amendment to uphold the Constitution of the United States. But what we're doing there in the House is you get the Dems putting in HR 6981, preventing private paramilitary activity to prevent militias forming, and basically to ban any kind of multiple person firearms drills, etc. So if you want to protest that, you want to call your representative, you want to say, hey, don't support and shut down this bill, 202-225-3121 in the House, and billblastersapp.org, of course. We need your action. Your action is so supreme, and it is literally like all your prayers, are so important, and they're massive. But then the action, right? The action is the solidification of those prayers into taking action. So please make that call. Tell them you don't want this bill to go forward. And so, okay, we're going to move into, I'm going to talk about what's going on a little bit with Arizona. Now we have the RNC meeting up in Las Vegas, and we had Turning Point USA show up a couple days before, organizing, getting everybody on board, maybe to confront Ronna McDaniel. We'll see what happens there. Ronna resign, hashtag Ronna resign. Because they're identifying, how no America First candidates have ever been supported, all of this. But we have great news out of Arizona, which is that Gina Swoboda is now the new GOP chair of Arizona. Okay, this is after Kari Lake did the bold move of outing Jeff Dewit, right? That she put out the recording and she said, resign or else I'll put out more recordings. Jeff Dewit resigned, and for entertainment purposes only, he has to absolutely be criminally prosecuted for trying to bribe a candidate. Okay, and maybe she she got starved, she got stolen of her governorship, but Kari Lake was about to run for Senate. and attempted to be bribed by Jeff Dewit, the head of the Arizona GOP. Now he's out, and now we have Gina Swoboda, and she is a force of nature. She's amazing. She has called herself an election nerd. She's like, I'm full bore against Mark Elias, all of them. We will get their lawfare taken care of. And so what we have is her finding out immediately that there's no profit and loss statement for 2023 out of Jeff Dewit, out of the GOP in Arizona. There's no profit and loss. There's no accounting of the books in Arizona, and that the GOP is also broke, by the way, in Arizona. And so she has a huge fight, because as Arizona goes, the country goes with this upcoming election. It's really important in Arizona. And so I would say to people, azgop.com, azgop.com, it is an important place to donate to if you have the means to do so. They need the funds to deal with massive lawfare with Mark Elias at all the lawfare out of the election fraud schemes coming out so huge. They're exposing the Arabella advisors out of the Democratic lawfare machine. I will be doing that this week, also talking about that. Indivisible out of the Dem lawfare machine. Same players. We'll be talking about that as well. But Gina Swoboda, I have good faith in her, and I will link it below, so I hope you can find good faith in her too. And so we're going to move on from there. I wanted to move into talking a tiny bit more about the Las Vegas caucuses coming up. On February 8th, we have the caucus. You need to get out and vote. If you're in Nevada, you need to get out and vote, right, for the caucus. Don't pay attention to this Nikki Haley primary. It's a total scam. It's the caucus with Trump, and go out and vote on February 8th. But the really important thing is to also understand that we've got people needed. I'm always about action on this channel, and so we really need people to consider being hired by things like Turning Point USA. They're actually hiring people in multiple states. Well, actually, let's see what we got. We've got. They're hiring 200 people in Arizona. They want local people. So if you're in Arizona, they want 200 people that are, know the neighborhoods, etc., that are going to go be door knockers, that are going to get the Republicans off their butts to go vote, and 100 people in Wisconsin. So 300 people. Hey, if you want to take part, go get hired by turningpointaction.com. And be part of it, because we also have people like dailyclout.io. This is Naomi Wolf, heavy lifting, where she's created a bill that could go to all 50 states, where they've created a bill where each where they need a representative from each state to promote that bill that will guarantee election transparency and integrity, and I'll get into that in a second. But so there's this whole thing happening here while the RNC is meeting in Las Vegas with Turning Point USA, preempting them with everybody organizing massive amounts of committee members, massive amounts of GOP states members getting together and going to basically ambush what will be the RNC in the next couple of days, and we'll cover that too. And so it's very exciting. I think there's a lot going on, right? There's a lot happening, and it's very important. And so, okay, now I'm going to mention this. I'm eventually getting into here what is the secret court put up by Joe Biden to basically surveil all of us in our social media, all of our data that can be shared internationally without a FISA request, put in without any constitutional means, and that's what I'm going to get to. But I want to cover a couple other things beforehand. And one is that Evergrande, the Ponzi scheme out of China, the massive and the trillions of derivatives out of China, this massive construction scheme, which was a huge Ponzi scheme where they created huge amounts of houses. They had people paying mortgages on houses that weren't even built yet in the hundreds of thousands. Okay, people are buying houses. They weren't getting built. This is in China. This is Evergrande. And they now have been meant to go full total liquidation. And this was Justice Linda Chan out of Hong Kong, basically saying enough is enough. It's been 18 months. And they couldn't provide a solution on how to deal with the fact that this Ponzi scheme was collapsing. The money wasn't there. It was all gone. They just took all these people's money buying these houses that were never built, and then charging them mortgages every month and interest on the mortgages. The house is not built in the hundreds of thousands. And now they're going down, and they have massive amounts of international capital, including the United States, with our hedge funds, pension funds, universities invested, banks invested. This could be, we could very well see bank collapses here in the United States out of this. And so they have, it's coming out as like $300 billion, in liquidation, but it explodes into trillions when you get into leveraged debt of derivatives. It's like a landslide, just a total massive landslide of derivatives. And, you think about things, what I've been talking about recently, where the banks, rewriting since 2009, all of the stuff I've been talking about how they steal your stuff. You don't know it. If you're banking, you have a loan. They're listing your assets as part of their asset community when they're selling their stocks and bonds out there. Your assets are listed, and since 2009, what they call the beneficial ownership clause in banking. And please look at your banking, because every bank is renewing their what it means to be part of them, what you have to agree to, all of their rights, etc., that they are saying you have to sign up and agree to our new terms of service. Well, part of this way back was beneficial ownership, where the bank owns all your money and assets if there are in the bank. If it's a loan or if it's your savings, they own it. Okay, and you are basically borrowing it from them, even though you've put it in there. Okay, and so this is important to understand with Evergrande collapsing. So Evergrande founder Hui Ka-yan, the billionaire, he's under investigation for financial crimes by the CCP, as if, right? And so what we're seeing is that trading halted. We had China Evergrande New Vehicle Energy Group, Evergrande Property Services, all trading halted on that. And the Chinese government is merging these companies, their asset management companies of these players, into the China Investment Corporation, or the China Sovereign Wealth Fund. So they're going to keep pushing it down the road. They're going to keep pushing it further and further, but it's coming, folks. And this is a massive, probably the largest Ponzi scheme the world's ever seen, truly, when it gets down to it. And so there's that. And so let's move on from there I want to mention this because, we've got World War III being put at our doorstep by the Biden regime. Whatever happened with this slaughter of our 3 soldiers and multiple dozens wounded there at Tower 22, there at the corner of Jordan, Syria, Iraq, and it really, what they're doing is overseeing a migrant, a refugee camp, and it is an IDP or a displaced persons camp. And you get into the Yazidis there. Like, that area was the Yazidis, like an ancient, very old group of people that weren't Abrahamic. They kind of had a bunch of beliefs in their religion. I think part of it was Zoroastrian, and they were trafficked in the thousands during this whole Syrian civil war created by the U.S. et al. And so many of them have been moving through this IDP camp there, where this Tower 22 is. And so while we look at what's coming out now of Germany, well, we need to escalate with Iran. We need to escalate with Russia. They're saying they're going to escalate. And what we hear out of BILD over the weekend, who just got the other documents out last week about the plans for drafting and the war and all of it, and Poland being involved, Sweden, etc. Well, now BILD is putting out a draft document from the Defense Ministry of Germany called the O Plan, or the Operational Plan, supposed to come due by April, where they're basically saying that the Germany will be a crucial country, a transit country of weapons and armaments to move through Germany for what is a war that they're planning. They're already talking about drafting people into the military in Germany. They don't have a military hardly. They don't even have 100,000 soldiers. But they're saying that this plan out of BILD, this report says that citizens, not soldiers, will have to build their own bunkers, that there's only 579 bomb shelters in Germany. They won't be building any more, so citizens must build their own, like you do. And that they also will have to call on citizens, not soldiers. They don't have military police to do it, to go out and protect the energy infrastructure, the electric plants, etc. If you want electricity, you'll have to go out and protect your own electric plant, because the government ain't gonna do it. And this is nuts. Okay, it's nuts, but it's because it's what they're planning to do. This destruction of the West. We have, of course, today, before I get there, so Ralph Tiesler, he's the Federal Office of Civil Protection and Disaster Assistance. He's the head of it. And he says there's no time to build citizens' bomb shelters, and it's just not feasible. Yet, so what do we have? We have in France and Germany and Netherlands massive amounts of farmers' protests against the government for all their climate change crap, shutting down the production of fertilizer and et cetera that they need to operate, all of the outsourcing of what they need to operate, that they can't compete because China is allowed to be unregulated, and so they, the West is being destroyed. And so in Paris today, we had the French farmers going out and blocking all the highways into Paris. They went in and also did actions in front of government buildings. They've been working hard, just like they have in the Netherlands and Germany. So it's expanding. It's very much like Yellow Vest movement, right before COVID was conveniently rolled out to shut down the Yellow Vests. Well, yeah. What does that mean, right? Because we're hearing all kinds of stuff with the Colorado Bat Lab and all this, and now we're hearing that the government, the Pentagon. Let me get this. The Pentagon is also now saying that they are going to be rolling out a vaccine of anthrax to their entire to all the military. All branches of the military will get this new vaccine. Let me try to get to it here. I have to find it. Oh, $235 million of our taxpayer money is going to the Pentagon, rolling out Biothrax. Remember Desert Storm, right? Remember when all the veterans got sick and died from Gulf War syndrome? And it was because of not only the disgusting shit they did in the desert there, but also from the anthrax shots, etc. You had multiple people stand up and resist this. You had what's his name, Professor? I can't remember his name now. The guy who wrote the international treaty against biowarfare. Well, he defended a doctor, a woman, who at the time refused to give these anthrax shots, knowing that they were killing people in the military. And so, here we are dealing with this. Well, as they plan to roll out, we have Russia saying 100% no, not going to attack anybody, not doing it, not happening. We have Iran saying, no, we did not send that drone in there. And what do we have in the United States? We have Biden basically can't speak, saying there's going to be major repercussions for what happened with this drone attack, when they know full well what happened for entertainment purposes only. And so moving on from there, at 30 minutes, in 280 days to the election, well, let's get into it. I want to talk about this new court. Oh, actually, before I do, I know, this is what I do. But I want to mention this. The insurance companies are now saying, speaking of war, they're changing their policies. This is Cigna, United, Anthem, have all changed their policies for 2024 for your health insurance, that they will not provide coverage or remedy for treatments for injury or sickness stemming from war, okay? Whether declared or not. Interesting, because, they're not declaring anything. Riots or insurrection. What? So the insurance companies, and we know the actuators have all pointed out all the deaths that's coming out through the actuaries, but the literal health insurance companies are now coming out, Cigna, United, Anthem, in their updated 2024 coverage pages, they're saying they will provide no coverage for treatment for injury or sickness stemming from war, declared or not, and riots or insurrections. Wow, they must know something, right? Because we know something, right? Okay, and so I'm about to get into the secret spy alliance that's set up by Joe Biden, secret spy court, but I've got a couple more things I want to say first. And the one is, I want to talk about Scotland and this the first minister out of Scotland, right? Humza Yousaf, married to a Palestine woman, refuses to defund the UN agency whose staff participated in the FEFE attacks there in Israel, Hamas, at the kibbutzim, right? The supposed rapes and murders and all of it that went on. These folks, the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East is what it stands for, UNRWA. UNRWA, the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East. The First Minister out of Scotland, Humza Yousaf, who is married to a Palestinian woman, says that he will not defund this UN agency, even though it's been supposedly proven, we'll see, you never quite know, participated that these UN, but we know the UN people are, constantly raping and pillaging, right? The UN peacekeepers in the rapes and the trafficking and the human trafficking, the child trafficking, all of it, operatives out of Cartel Babylon, intelligence agencies, okay, across the board, whether it is Israel intelligence, whether it is Mossad, whether it is CIA, all these people. And so this guy, the First Minister, Humza Yousaf, out of Scotland, Scotland, so sad, completely destroyed, chopped down their forests, put up wind farms that don't work, and bought all their wood from Tennessee. But yeah, so the UNRWA is also a USA national committee, a Muslim-run committee out of the United States, and they partner with multiple people, huge lobbyists here in the United States. Part of it is the Zakat Foundation. This is an orphan sponsorship foundation. They do multiple things besides, but they have dealt with 635,000 orphans out of 30 countries since 2002. We always wonder about that. And you get the Dorothea House Ross Foundation, the Macmillan Stewart Foundation, Human Concern International, and Canadian Palestinian Professional Foundation. And again, very interesting stuff there. And before I get into the special court, I just want to say Peter Navarro, the guy who brought us the incredible, amazing China tariff deals, trade deals that Trump brought us. That was Peter Navarro. And because he defied the subpoenas of the bogus J6, Liz Cheney, Raskin, all of them, okay, he is getting now 4 months in prison for denying those subpoenas. Okay, so let's hope, Hunter Biden gets his 4 months, okay, at least. Put him in jail. Let him rot in jail. Let him detox. Put Hunter Biden in jail for 4 months and then see how much he's willing to talk, okay, about the family, right? We have Ashley Biden's diary now up, full bore on National File. You can read the whole thing. See how awful the Biden crime family is just from her point of view from that diary, which is 100% vetted by the FBI, vetted by everybody, including Ashley Biden herself, that it's real. Put Hunter Biden in jail for 4 months in prison and see how much he talks. Peter Navarro, the incredible American hero during the Trump administration, creating these China tariff deals that actually was the first thing ever since Bill Clinton gave this country away to China, that we have a real pushback against China. Peter Navarro sentenced to 4 months in prison. So there's that. Okay. Now, I think I am finally going to get into the Biden secret spy court. And so this is literally called the Data Protection Review Court. Data Protection Review Court. And this is Biden. He started this back in November, under the radar, hardly talked about, and where he names 8 judges that are independent of any political body. This is basically a globalist court, and it has nothing to do with America, and yet here they are under Merrick Garland's no oath, according to Todd Callender, no oath Garland, totally under his control, and this is the spying on Americans without a FISA warrant whatsoever to create data. Just what we saw come out of Davos last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, the WEF with von der Leyen, the EU commissioner, saying, we're creating the digital, what is it now? The Digital Services Act, the Digital Services Act out of the EU, basically saying we're going to spy on you, we're going to see everything you're doing, and we're going to charge you if we feel like you're saying something that is not what the World Economic Forum wants you to say. And this is what Biden has done, and it's their new secret spy court, the Data Protection Review Court, the DPF. And so this comes under something called the Data Protection Framework. Okay, no Senate approval whatsoever for this, nothing legislative, literally created from Biden's executive order, which was enhancing safeguards for U.S. signals intelligence. Enhancing safeguards for U.S. signals intelligence. Okay, so we're dealing with CIA, we're dealing with NSA, we're dealing with them getting up in your biz just because they can. And these are lifetime appointments to 8 judges. I think we only have 6 of them that I could identify. Let me see. So the judges that now sit on this lifetime appointed non-constitutional court whatsoever under Joe Biden are James E. Baker, okay, Rajesh Day, James X. Dempsey, Mary B. DeRosa, Thomas B. Griffith, Eric Holder Jr., David F. Levi, and Virginia A. Seitz. And so I will link all that below so you can check them out. So this is basically putting a surveillance net across the United States for globalist reasons to identify everybody that they think is anti-globalist or a threat, or basically to track MAGA, to track voters. And your data will be given to anybody who can pay for it. This is a pay-for-play scheme. And so, they get to do this surveillance net because it's legal under international law, even though it's not, it's certainly entirely non-constitutional in the United States, but they're getting away with it. And so you can have United States corporations, companies, government agencies, private entities can apply to get your information and get it immediately. Where your citizens' data can also be sent to Europe or beyond, to be used by things like Europol. I don't have it in front of me, but I know there was a United States citizen reporter who was recently approached by Europol for something. This is, the UK. We see it in Europe. People getting arrested for using wrong pronouns or putting up a tweet that was against the woke, whatever. No. This is going full bore, more going after MAGA. And so your data can be sold to entities like BlackRock. It can be sold to voting machine systems like DOMINION, which is being basically outed across the country. In Vegas yesterday by the state senator who said definitely 130,000 votes stolen. Coming out in Georgia, there's so much coming out about them, and it looks like they're about to be dismissed in Georgia, the case, which is huge, and I'll get into that tomorrow in my next video. So they can use this court to fine you, okay? This, again, it's called the Data Protection Review Court. They can use it to fine you, charge you with crimes, and even from the past. So they can run through your data from the past and charge you with crimes. So this is, again, part of the whole money train, lawfare train of trying to attack constitutional Americans with trying to defend their republic and use this court against them. And it's completely controlled by Merrick Garland. The Department of Justice has 25,000 criminal investigators, 25,000 criminal investigators under Garland. And the fines, what this is especially interesting, is that the fines that they collect out of the people that they charge with these crimes, these fines and penalties can be distributed how they like. And what I'll link below will show you ways that's been done in the past under Barack Obama, where they've attacked different institutions or nonprofits for these kind of crimes. Things have gone to, money gets dispersed under Barack Obama to things like just various slush funds. Even La Raza got money. So they can go to the DNC, it can go to Clinton Foundation, Clinton Global Foundation, the Elias Legal Group, Mark Elias, who Gina Swoboda is gonna kick the pants off of. They are literally can disperse this money however they choose under this extra congressional court. This court is not constitutional at all. So I'll link it all below. And it reports to the European Commission. Okay, so we're just being globalized without our consent. We're having ourselves be subject to international laws that is absolutely unconstitutional, and it's very important that we fight this. So you need to get up in the grills of your senators and your representatives and tell them you want this court disbanded. It's illegal, it's unconstitutional, and of course the number to do that is always 202-225-3121 for the House, 202-224-3121 for the Senate. And, there's so many things. There's HR2 to call them about. There's so many things to be calling them about. So get active. And there's also billblasterapp.org if you want to do it that way and get to them maybe more directly, because they seem to be plugging out those lines lately where you can't really get in with your call. And so getting back to the Data Protection Review Court, this is what you need to know. And then I'll end it. It's independent of our justice system, even though it's controlled by Merrick Garland, no oath. Does not, it doesn't work for Americans. It's not subject to us. They can't be fired. They have a lifelong position. Their decisions are final and can't be appealed. I mean, how is this even real? But it's real. It exists. It's happening now. They're going after people. Defendants have no right to independent counsel. So you have to only have the counsel that's appointed to you by Merrick Garland's no oath court. And then Garland, of course, creates the laws. And the EU Commission can overrule Merrick Garland. So this is one of these things like, the WHO Treaty, like all of these international trying to override the U.S. Constitution that are going on. And so no FISA needed anymore to investigate us as we wonder about the continuation of FISA, what's been going on in the House there, getting FISA, re-upped, all this. It's all baloney. It's all a beard covering up what is this, which is this Data Protection Review Court that nobody's talking about out of the Biden executive order. And we need to talk about it. We need to expose it, and we need to literally fight it. Okay, so there's that. I'll end with this. We now know that, as this rollout of the truckers heading down to Texas and whatever's going on there, I just don't trust Abbott at all. I do trust Paxton, and so I'm just wondering what's going on. The feds false flags, all of it. Takeourborderback.com. Don't get geofenced in there, people. But I will say this great report from Joseph Trimmer out of at Speech Studios on X. He's doing great work exposing how the kids are being trafficked up into Walmarts in Texas. And, I've talked about that on this channel before, but it's happening. He's followed it all the way up to Austin now, where the Walmarts that we thought were all going to be FEMA camps, which will be after they finish trafficking the kids, that these Walmarts are housing kids in the tens of thousands. They have 11,000 kids in Walmarts in Texas. 11,000 kids in Walmarts in Texas. What? And yeah, this is people like HIAS, as I've been covering. We're going to get more into it. They're operating now out of North Carolina. Big stuff being done there by Moms for Liberty, trying to expose the Hebrew Academy there. But HIS, Catholic Charities, pass the extra plate, right? And all they do to follow up on these kids is two phone calls, okay, from DHS. And Mayorkas is being impeached, okay? The articles of impeachment are being finished up by tomorrow. They could have a vote as soon as the end of the week. Thank you, Marjorie Taylor Greene, for getting that done. And Mayorkas, the DHS guy, the no oath guy, is being impeached. And this is what we have going on, is we have kids in Walmarts, and these kids want to leave. Multiple reports of the kids trying to ask to go home, to go back, to their countries. They don't even know why the hell they're there. And they won't let them leave because they're making close to $300 a day per child. The NGOs, okay, through IOM with Amy Pope out of the International the International Organization on Migration out of the UN, headed by Amy Pope, Biden's advisor on migration, who now heads up the UN on running this trafficking program. And so what more do we need to know, right? What more do we need to know? We get Ilhan Omar making a speech over the weekend too. This is just fresh. All in Somali, where she's talking to all of her Somalian constituents, which are most of her constituents, right, out of there in Minnesota, basically saying that Somalians call the shots in Minnesota, and she'll make sure that every taxpayer dollar that comes through Minnesota will help the Somalians, right? She married her brother, and then married her campaign manager, and whatever. We don't care, but we do need people to take her on, and we hope that there's going to be that happening. We know Royce White is running there in Minneapolis, and I do believe that he is going to unseat Ilhan Omar. Royce White, the great Royce White, I think it's a MFA fighter and former NBA player. I think he's running against Ilhan Omar. I'll try to link it below. Royce White running against her there in Minnesota. We'll see what happens. But anywho, so that's the story. We have the situation of the Data Protection Review Court that nobody hears about, that now literally can go after anybody, EU style. And this is the kind of dangers that we need to end in this country. And we're going to do it, and we're doing it, right? So get out there, get a job with the Turning Point USA, get turningpointaction.com, become a committee member, precinctstrategies.com. Go to become a poll watcher. We need 60,000 of them, right, across the country right now. We need you to take action in whatever way suits your, your personality, your skill set, whatever you feel you're capable of doing. You need to do it now. Now is the time to get out full bore to defend the United States against enemies, foreign and domestic, right? Because, it's very interesting. All of those, Mayorkas, all of them, Blinken, etc., they're supposed to take that oath, enemies, foreign and domestic, defend the United States Constitution. The president doesn't have to take it's strange. They don't have the enemies, foreign and domestic part in there. And we know that Joe Biden, for entertainment purposes only, certainly could never have taken that oath, considering how he sold out our country to China, Ukraine, Russia, Kazakhstan, Romania. Yeah. Anyway, folks, I so appreciate you. I so appreciate you supporting this channel. If you got something from this video that you think is added value to what you're seeing on other channels, then please support the channel. I would really appreciate it. It allows me to do more videos. I think we're dealing with what we know is the globalist cabal, but what we have is God's armor. What I loved about Gina Swoboda out of Arizona, who's now going to be the GOP chair there, was that she immediately said, I have the full armor of God. She said, I am absolutely on it. I'm going to completely defeat Mark Elias and all of his kind, because she felt so imbued by the full armor of God. She felt completely sure that she was destined for this position as an election nerd, right? So be an election nerd, be a door knocker nerd, be a poll watcher nerd, but mostly be under the full protection of the full armor of God, because that is what you are built for. It's what God made you in his image for. It is what we are able to do when we put on the cloak of Christ. So put on your cloak, get out there, do your best job, because we are free and we are going to absolutely continue to march towards defeating the globalists here in the United States. Cartel Babylon will be no more, and we will thrive and succeed. So you are free. Thanks so much for watching the channel. Thanks for supporting the channel. Hey, check out the You Are Free TV giveaway of c60evo.com/YAFTV, 10% off. Use the code YAFTV. But if you give to the channel, you get entered into the giveaway. I give away 2 bottles every month of this incredible product to clean out your mitochondria, keep it safe from the biothorax or whatever the heck they're going to do next. We are free. I'll see you next time.